This is Dr. Tyler Standifird here. I'm with six-time world long drive champion Jason Zuback to talk to you today about the importance of getting into that trail leg or that trail leg load in the golf swing. Now, the trail leg does some really important things as we initiate that backswing, and it's all about loading into that leg. And when we talk about that trail leg, we want it to load in two ways. We want it to really push down really hard into the ground, and we really want to push it hard away from the target. That load of the trail leg is such an important initiation of the swing. Would you say, Jason, that's one of the key things you're looking for?
It is, Tyler. Just the player being able to load into that trail and load into the trail early so that we can create all the good stuff going towards the target.
Perfect. Now let's hop into the app and kind of look at what we'd actually be looking for, what force curves we're looking for, maybe some numbers that you would be looking for. So some of the things that we can look at here, and as we start with our kinetic sequence graph, we can look at some of these pressure distributions as we go up to the top of the swing. And you can see this is a player here who I would say is struggling to load into that trail leg. Because as you see here, when we look at this distribution, he's at about 50-50 at the top of his swing, right? We want to see much more going into that trail side, maybe somewhere in the realm of, maybe 65 to 80% in that trail leg. The other thing that we would look for too is we also want to look at how much lateral force this player is producing. So what they're actually doing away from that target, because that's going to also help with that load, the into and the away from. And you can see here a trail leg percentage of about 2.5%. That's a percentage that we actually want to peak around 20% in our players. So way off in terms of his load pushing into, way off in terms of his pushing away from. And now we have that problem of a player who's not starting that swing in the right way without loading the trail leg. And you can start to think about some of those issues that's going to create in the downswing, initiating a proper downswing sequence, and kind of doing the things we want to see.
It's extremely important to get that load into that trail side so that we can have we're exerting force towards the target by that push down and away. But the first thing in that whole sequence is getting into that side, then initiating that push early, towards the target. So the best players in the world, they're getting in there super early, oftentimes even before we start our backswing.
Yeah.
And the players will start that push towards the target, somewhere at that P2 position or when the shaft is parallel to the ground. Oftentimes, if we look at the fastest players in the world in long drive, they'll even start it before that. So they're getting in there, they're getting load to that trail side early, and they're exerting force to get out of that trail side.
And perfect. And we're looking, again, in this lateral side, we're looking at this red curve that's sitting kind of in the 2-3% in those regions. If we go into the vertical, again, we're looking red because red's our trail leg, and we can see how close those are to each other in terms of the blue and red, meaning they're just not loading in. So again, Jason, let's say we see this golfer. You've mentioned the importance of long drive and speed, but this is something that's important to every golfer because they've got to be able to load and kind of progress through the swing that way. So when you see a golfer that has this, I love some of the drill progressions that you go through. Can you maybe walk us through some of the things that you might do to help this golfer get that better load into the trail side?
Right, yeah, you and I have been talking about why doesn't the player get in there? And that could be a really complex issue. It can hit on so many buckets, as we call it. It can be something's going on. Why aren't they getting into that trail side, right? Is it something going on in the ankle, the knee, the hip, even the lumbar spine? Is it mobility, stability, balance issue, right? So it can be pretty complex. Even when a player's thinking, understanding their swing philosophy. If the player's thinking about, minimizing hip rotation and maximizing thorax rotation, oftentimes that will kill these laterals. And as well, if a player, has this swing concept of just rotating about the center and not a concept of moving laterally in the swing, again, that kills the ability to load the lateral as well as getting out of that lateral side or the trail side. So, one of the things we see on the force plate is a player that has an excessively wide stance, just to pick something easy. If the player has a really wide stance, to load that trail side, we have to move our center of mass, or where the collection of mass is of our body. We have to move that it's not a great distance, but if the player has an excessively wide stance, they have to move at a greater distance. So it makes it tough for them. So we can do on the force plates, we can narrow the stance and see if that makes an impact of loading that trail side if they have an excessively wide stance, right?
Yep. And you mentioned all those complexities, right, Jason? And the use of the force plate, something like stance widths and some foot flares and those types of things that can play a role where you can get them on the plates in check, right? Assuming this golfer has some good stability, some good strength, some good capacity to move, let's kind of walk through a drill progression you would do to help them improve upon this force.
Yeah, exactly, Tyler. Like if we don't see any big limitation in, in the physical bucket, meaning, mobility, stability, balance, pain, injury, right? And if they have a reasonable ability to produce force and produce force quickly, hey, let's give them some drills to be able to load that trail side. In our trail load series, our first drill is trail load half step back. I usually use this in the studio or on the tee. I'm going to take a half step with my trail towards the lead. And as I start the club forward, I'm going to initiate that half step back. And again, my cue on this one is load heavy into the trail side. So I'm going to do 3 repetitions of 3 preparatory repetitions and then 3 full swings. It's going to look something like this. Start in a normal position, half step with the trail foot towards the lead. As the club goes forward, I step rearward and I want to feel heavy load in that trail side. So again, 1. Again, loading heavy, club goes forward. Club goes forward, loading heavy, and that's early load. Now, we're going to put it all together with a swing. And again, that half step with the trail towards the lead. Start the club forward, step back, finish the swing aggressively. Put it together one more time. And one set would be the 3 preparatory swings and 3 of the full swings. Now, if we had a studio setup where the force plates are in the mat in our research bay or in the studio, we can do some data capture with the force plates with this drill. And I'll demonstrate that one now. Next in our series of trailside load is trailside load half step back, but this time using the force pedal. This one will give us a good sense of where to apply that force and where is that force landing, what position on the foot. So again, we're going to take our normal stance as we normally would. I'm going to put the force pedal to the heel side of center of that trail foot. This gives us a point to shoot for, but it also develops some kinesthetic awareness, proprioception of what our body's doing in space. And again, it's that same half step back drill where as the club starts forward, we land heavy into that trail side, feeling the resiliency of that force pedal. We're going to do 3 preparatory repetitions and then 3 full repetitions. It's going to look something like this. Again, that idea of land heavy, where the force pedal is to the trail side of the midfoot. Let's put it together with 3 swings. Again, half step with the trail towards the lead. Club starts forward, find the force pedal, finish the swing. This one's up in the ante with the nervous system a little bit, but has the potential to pay some big dividends. Next in our series of trailside load is what I used to call dynamic load realization. After my good friend Kyle Berkshire, who started doing this the year that he won the World Long Drive Championship for the first time. It's a drill where we realize where we're loading, when we're loading in the swing. We're take our normal stance. We're going to totally load the trail side. So again, we feel 100% load on the trail, so that lead foot comes right off the ground. We're going to load 100% on the lead side. The trail foot comes off the ground. Then when that trail foot hits, then we're going to start our backswing. So we're going 100% load on the trail, 100% load on the lead, 100% load on the trail. And this is a characteristic move. You see a lot of the long drive guys doing it. They're doing it for a reason. because it's capitalizing on loading that trail side and loading that trail side dynamically. So there'll be 3 preparatory repetitions, then 3 full repetitions. So again, I'm loading the trail, load the lead, load the trail, and then I start my backswing. Then let's put it all together in a swing. Load the trail, load the lead, load the trail, load the trail, load the lead, load the trail. And again, one set is the 3 preparatory repetitions and the 3 full repetitions. And it gets after that dynamic lateral realization, loading the trail side.
Awesome. So that is a great drill progression that we could take players through to help with that trail leg load. Now, frequency is going to be your friend on these, Jason. So the idea is doing them a lot, you know, these 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 times, multiple times a week, or maybe a way that your coach might prescribe a little differently. But doing these often is going to help you relearn those movement patterns, help you get into that trail side, and kind of help initiate that swing.
Absolutely, Tuck.